to my channel, A Little Bit of Monica. I'm Monica and I am so excited because we are heading into the month of October, which means it is time for Halloweekend Readathon. For anyone who doesn't know what Halloweekend is, this is a month-long readathon created and hosted by Lexi from Books with Lexi. This event is centered around the weekends within the month of October, and basically what you're doing is you're provided with some prompts, you pick some books that fit those prompts, and then you read them over the weekends and you talk about them. Lexi has an awesome Discord set up so that there is plenty of space to talk about the books you're reading and all things spooky, because this is arguably the best month of the year. Spooky season is upon us and I am loving it already. So I'm really excited to be able to get to all of the spooky, creepy books that I have been holding off on until October, and now is their time to shine. So the idea is to pick one prompt that you read for each weekend. So for the first weekend, I am reading Murder in the Family by Kara Hunter for the prompt of co-host's favorite subgenre. Kaylee listed mixed media as one of her favorite subgenres, and so this book fits perfectly into that. This is a mixed media murder mystery. This book is set up like a documentary. They are investigating a 20-year-old murder, and so I am really excited to read this. It was very highly hyped on TikTok, so we're gonna see if it lives up to the hype. Regardless, I love murder mysteries, so I'm excited to get to this one. And the second book that I plan to read for this weekend is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. And this one I will be reading for the bonus prompt of a book that a friend loved. Lexi read this book and I believe gave it 5 stars, which is amazing, and I am super excited. We actually met Lisa Jewell together at the book signing for this book specifically, so I am really excited to get to read this book. I am also going to be buddy reading this with Michelle from Michelle's Library. So I know that that is going to make this an even better reading experience, and I am ready to get going. So let's get reading. Okay, this is the start of my reading vlog for Murder in the Family by Kara Hunter. This book I saw on TikTok advertised as a really fun murder mystery. The tagline is "One body, 6 experts. Can you solve the case before they do?" The whole point being that you're supposed to be able to try to figure out who committed the murder before the characters in the book do, because it's an ongoing investigation and the clues are there and you're supposed to be able to try to figure it out. So I'm gonna see if I can do it. Let's go. Okay, so I'm at my first stopping point and it's a little bit earlier than I anticipated, but I wanted to stop pretty early on in the book just to kind of talk about what's going on without providing too many spoilers, because the whole point of Murder in the Family is that you're trying to solve the murder as fast as or quicker than the experts that are brought in to solve the murder in the book. I wanted to provide a foundation that is relatively spoiler-free. So early on, I am on page 81, which is the end of episode 1 of the documentary. So for anyone who doesn't know what the story is about, Murder in the Family is a mixed media murder mystery where we are following essentially a month-long documentary premiere that is trying to solve the unsolved murder of the director of the show, his stepfather, who was murdered 20 years prior, and it was unsolved. So he is trying to basically bring this case back to light and figure out what happened to his stepfather. And one of the reasons that they're saying that this is so much different than, you know, other investigations that they've done or other investigations that were done for this case is that because the stepson is directly involved with this documentary, he is able to give them access to resources that may not have been available to other, you know, true crime podcasters or other, you know, newscasts and things like that. You know, like the family that's directly involved and even the house that the murder was committed in. So it's getting very interesting. We're getting a lot of details. The first section, and why I wanted to stop now, the first episode they set up to be very much a information dump of who's involved, what's going on. So we're meeting the 6 main experts that are brought in, who are professionals in different fields: forensic psychology and journalism, investigation, police, things like that. All of these experts are brought in, and they are going to be looking at all of the evidence, all the information, interviews, things like that, to try to piece everything together. And so we have been introduced to those 6 experts, and then we have also started going through the story of what happened the night that Luke Ryder was murdered. And then we also get to meet some of the main suspects in the case, which are, in most situations, some of the main suspects are the family members. So we are getting to know who those family members are, where they were that night, what's going on, and kind of establishing them as suspects. So again, this first episode is very much building the foundation of what the rest of the investigation is going to look like. I have this tendency when I'm reading books to try to figure out the story before it happens, and so that's kind of what I typically end up doing even when I'm not trying. So now that I am trying, I'm really hoping that I can help figure it out as well. First of all, I am filming this on the last day of September, and it is nearly 80 degrees outside, so I came out to read, and it's getting really warm, so I might have to go inside because I think I might get a sunburn. So I am now on page 307 of Murder in the Family, and I just made it to the end of episode 5 of the documentary. And it is a continuous pattern of, like, every episode they're unveiling like more and more things that they can investigate. And at this point, I think they said there's like 6. I think there's only 6 episodes. And we just finished 5. So I'm not really sure what else there is to come. There is still a pretty decent amount of the book left. I feel like, obviously, you're not supposed to be able to figure out who murdered this guy super easily. Otherwise, it would have been solved 20 years ago. However, I do feel like the nature of this book, they like advertise it to be this kind of story that like you can figure out as you go. And maybe in the details, maybe like in between the lines, you can figure it out. I have not figured it out yet. I have my own theories, I guess, but it feels very much like this book. Every single chapter, which is every episode of this documentary, they are basically just uncovering like more leads and like more rabbit trails to go down. It just feels like there's almost like too many leads that they're trying to follow, and my brain is like so scattered that I almost wish that there would be like 1 or 2 paths that they just like really delved into and like went into detail, and like each of the experts has kind of like their lead, like their path that they're, you know, going down. But it feels like there's so many things that they're investigating all at one time. Oh, there's a wasp on my knee. Okay. Anyway, I feel like I don't really know what to think. It just keeps going, and they're like uncovering more secrets and more like things. Like at this point, I would say at least the midway point, maybe even a little earlier than that, we were already basically into material that the original investigation had no idea about. And that seems like, yeah, I guess it was like early 2000s, like the murder happened in 2003. So obviously technology was a lot more limited then, but at the same time, like, you have, like, it's literally a whole half of a book of, like, new material that these 6 random experts are pulling together 20 years later out of the blue, and they're, like, uncovering all these secrets. So it just feels a little weird in that respect. But otherwise, like, the case itself is very interesting, and the secrets that they are uncovering and like the new information is interesting. It's just, it's a lot, and maybe it's too much sometimes, but I've still got a ways to go, and we'll see how it goes for the rest of the book. Okay, so I just finished reading Murder in the Family by Kara Hunter, and I feel like I have so many thoughts and also no thought at the same time. First of all, I think it's a very well done murder mystery. I think that the story was put together well, the characters were strong, and I really, really loved the mixed media aspect. I think the way that it was portrayed as the documentary format, I think that was really cool, and it helped pace the story fairly decently, and the incorporation of some photos, but a lot of like text conversations or the descriptions of like videos that were filmed, I think was really cool. So I really liked the mixed media, and I think that's probably my favorite aspect of this book. I will say that compared to my expectation based on the hype that it got from TikTok, this was a little bit disappointing. It wasn't exactly what I expected it to be, because the whole premise of like you trying to solve the murder before the experts do, it wasn't really set up in a way to prompt you to even be able to do that, because the whole way through the story they're giving you so much new information that you couldn't possibly have been able to put together all the details any quicker than the characters do. So in that way, it's basically the same structure as any normal murder mystery would be. That's not a bad thing for the book itself. I think it was still done well, and it was an interesting story. The murder, the whole resolution, it was very like captivating. I wanted to keep reading, but I do think that the way it was hyped by other readers, it was not what I thought it would be, and so that was a little disappointing and may factor into, I ended up giving it 3.5 to 4 stars, because again, I really liked it as its own book. I liked it as a murder mystery, but the way that it was marketed and the way people took it and then hyped it up, it was not what it ended up being, in my opinion. But aside from that, I really did enjoy reading it, and I think that anyone who loves a murder mystery would enjoy this book. You just have to go into it knowing that it's got kind of the same structure, the same format as any other would. I will say one of the cool things is, because I was so focused on trying to solve the murder, I was paying attention to a lot of details that did help me, even if it wasn't necessarily like I was able to solve the murder and solve the mystery. There were things along the way that I kind of could start to predict a little bit, even just in the way that different characters learned information. There were things I could kind of like, I could see it coming, but it didn't necessarily help me come to the final conclusion. But I do think that it was good. They were always giving you more information to build, and so that you were, you know, constantly processing. I am super excited to be starting the next book for Halloweekend, which is a buddy read with Michelle from Michelle's Library, and it is Lisa Jewell's None of This Is True. This is her newest release that just came out, I want to say July or August maybe, and I was lucky enough to be able to go to one of her book signings at a local bookstore and get my book signed, and she was just so nice. It was incredible to meet her and hear a little bit about her writing process and what this book is about. which, from what I understand, this book is going to be about two women who meet each other on their shared birthday. They are both turning, I think it said 45 years old. And then, as the one woman, Alex, is a well-known podcaster, she ends up doing a podcast episode or something with this other woman, Josie, and soon they become friends, and it sounds like Josie is going to start like inserting herself into Alex's life more and more until things start to get weird and confusing, and they start to question like everything. Alex, I think, finds that she is in an unsafe situation, but not really knowing what to do. And I think the description even said something about Josie is going to disappear at some point. So this is going to be really good. I'm excited to get started, and we'll probably read this in a couple of days. And I have been looking forward to this because I've heard a lot of really good things about this book. It is my first Lisa Jewell, so this will be my first taste of her writing, but I am really looking forward to it. Okay, so I just finished reading None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This, again, was my first Lisa Jewell book, and I am blown away. I'm blown away. This book is easily 5 stars for me. I just feel like the title, None of This Is True, okay? By the end of this book, I'm genuinely questioning if I know what anything is, if I know what truth is. This story was so good. It was so intricate. The characters were so interwoven, and just, there was so much going on. So the whole premise is that Josie kind of infiltrates Alex's life and begins to kind of weird everybody out, and so people are starting to question her and her story and what's going on. And the whole time Alex is doing this podcast where she's interviewing Josie and hearing her story, but by the end of the book you are questioning everything. You're questioning whose story is correct. Is Josie telling the truth, or are other people telling the truth? And I gotta be honest, like there were points where I genuinely had no idea. I was like staring into space being like, I don't know. It was like every 5 minutes I felt like my brain was exploding trying to comprehend everything. So this was just so good. Like, there was not a moment of this book where I was bored, where I was wishing for like, okay, let's wrap this up, like it's done. Like I was like fully invested for the entire book, and that is just a job well done. I am blown away by this. So Lisa Jewell, thank you. This was a beautiful book. Very messed up, like so messed up. There were times where I wanted to yell and scream, and I was buddy reading this with Michelle. Like, we're sending each other updates, all caps, like, what did I just read? And then we started also giving Lexi our updates because she had already read this book and wanted to know what we were thinking as we were nearing the end. So we were giving her updates as well, just like freaking out about things. Because I swear the whole last like quarter of the book is just unraveling a lot of secrets and making you question everything, which I love a book that just really challenges that level of your mind. Like, I love a book that makes you question everything. Sometimes in the moment, I'm a little frustrated by my inability to figure things out, but like the genius of the complication of this book is just something I cannot even truly fathom. So I loved this, and it is an easy 5-star read for me. This has been such a good Halloweekend kickoff weekend. I am so happy with everything. There were so many sprints, so many fun events. So I got to spend all day Saturday reading, and then Sunday I went to the Renaissance Fair, which I love the Ren Fair, and I worked there all of last season, and I didn't end up working there this year, but I do still love going to visit, and so getting to be there for a day and visit some old friends and things like that was just a really great day. Even though it took me away from reading, it was still worth it. But to the books that I did read this weekend, I did finish Murder in the Family by Kara Hunter. Again, I think I landed at like 3 to 3.5 stars for this. At first, I thought I was going to give it 3.5 to 4, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no. Not only did it not live up to the hype, but the more I think about it, the more it was a classic story, and there were just little things here and there that I think could have been done a lot better. I do think that it was kind of unrealistic to believe that this whole investigation happened and then 20 years later they uncover literally enough information to have a whole new investigation. Like, it was practically as if they never investigated in the first place. And I don't know, something about it was just weird to me. And then I do think that the actual resolution and the conclusion came out of nowhere. The whole point is that you're supposed to try to be able to solve the case along with or before the experts do. And quite frankly, I don't know how anyone would have figured this out. There was very little lead up to the actual resolution. It just kind of, they're like, yeah, oh, this is what really happened. And you're like, I mean, okay, but how was I supposed to figure that out? So it was not, I think it was like marketed a little bit differently than what I took it to be in the end. It's not a terrible thing. It was still an enjoyable story. The characters were great. It wasn't what I was anticipating, so it did let me down a little bit. So I'm giving it like 3 to 3.5. And then Lisa Jewell's None of This Is True. I loved this book so much. I was eating it up. I was like invested, like fully invested in the characters, in the story, in everything about it. Full 5 stars for this. Ugh. There were times where I was questioning my own sanity, which is a good sign that you are like fully captivated by a book, and that was exactly this. I love this book. This was my first Lisa Jewell, and so far we are 1 for 1 on successfully anticipated 5-star reads. So with these 2 books, this was a really great start to Halloweekend, and I am just so excited to see where the rest of the month goes. I have some other really highly anticipated reads for me, books that have been on my shelf for a long time, or books that I just haven't gotten around to reading, or some even that I recently found out would be really good for me. So I am excited to see where the rest of this month goes. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and comment below if you read either of these books and how you felt about them, or if you plan to read them, let me know that too, because I would love for other people to get to experience these books too, so I can see what other people thought about them. Make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss out. I am planning on having reading vlogs throughout the month to catalog all of my Halloweekend reading adventures, and especially make sure that you are subscribed to Lexi from Books with Lexi and the other co-hosts for the event, Sav from Riveting Reads, Kaylee from Kaylee's Books, Katrina from Katrina Brown, and Kelsey from Slime and Slashers. They are doing an excellent job of leading this event so far, and I can't wait to see all the fun that we're going to have for the rest of the month. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!